You know that feeling when someone asks you a question in a new language and suddenly your brain it turns into this frantically typing secretary?
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're desperately flipping through this massive mental dictionary.
Right. You're trying to find the exact right word, and then you have to cross-reference it with like a giant rule book of verb conjugations before you even open your mouth.
It is exhausting. I mean, it
Yeah.
feels like performing real-time algebraic calculations just to tell someone you'd like a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and by the time you've formulated that grammatically perfect sentence, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. You're just left standing there.
So welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive, because today our mission is to explore a fascinating source document that outlines a specific 5-day listening method. And this method promises to drastically improve your English comprehension and honestly, actually change the way your brain processes a new language.
It's a really bold claim, but the mechanics behind it are fascinating.
Totally. Just imagine learning a language without translating every single sentence in your head or, constantly stopping to think about those rigid grammar rules. The source promises that in just 5 days, English can actually start to feel natural to you.
But we should probably establish a crucial baseline right up front, though. I mean, this isn't magic, right?
It's not some secret grammar book.
Exactly. And the text has a huge disclaimer that we need to emphasize. This is not about achieving perfect fluency in 5 days. I mean, true fluency always takes time.
Oh, for sure.
What these 5 days are actually meant to do is completely change the way you learn. It's about setting up a foundation that is vastly faster and, honestly, way more efficient than traditional grammar study.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why this 5-day method works, we first have to look at the core problem the source identifies. There's a fatal flaw in the way traditional language learning works.
The grammar trap. That's what it comes down to.
The grammar trap, yeah. Because, we're highly logical adults, right?
We are. We have fully developed prefrontal cortexes, which means we just love rules. We love patterns and formulas.
We want the instruction manual for everything.
Exactly. So when we encounter a massive complex system, like a foreign language, our immediate instinct is to try and hack it.
Right, we spend months memorizing conjugation tables and syntax rules.
Yeah, treating the language like a math problem to be solved rather than, an environment to just be experienced.
And the source points out this brilliant contrast to that logic. Babies. Because babies definitely do not learn their first language by studying grammar books.
No, they absolutely do not.
They learn entirely by listening every single day, long before they ever try to speak.
What's fascinating here is the psychological shift required for an adult to actually mimic that infant approach.
Right, because we want to control the process.
Exactly. When you rely on a grammar book, you are using explicit memory, that conscious, deliberate recall of facts. But language acquisition at its highest level, it relies on implicit memory. It's completely subconscious.
Like how you don't think about the rules of past participles in your native language.
Right. You just instinctively know what sounds correct. And the source argues that to get that instinct in a new language, we have to surrender our adult need for logical control.
We have to rely on our ears and repetition.
Yes. If you just trust the process, the brain naturally recognizes the patterns.
It kind of makes me think about how we teach adults versus kids in other areas. Like approaching a language through grammar rules first. It feels like trying to learn how to swim by sitting in a dry classroom reading a physics textbook about water displacement.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. Like instead of just getting into the pool and feeling the water, you're memorizing the map of buoyancy. You're entirely in your head.
And that cognitive bottleneck is exactly what causes that frantically typing secretary feeling you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Because when you finally get in the water, knowing the physics equation doesn't keep you from drowning. Your body has to learn the rhythm of the water, just like your ears have to learn the rhythm of the language.
Which brings us directly to the mechanics of getting into that pool. Now that we know why we have to abandon the grammar books, we transition into the first practical steps of this method.
Days 1 and 2, building the foundation.
Yes, getting into the water through passive and then active listening. So day 1 is dedicated exclusively to passive listening. And your only job is to listen to a simple story or conversation from beginning to end.
But there are some very strict rules here.
Super strict. The rule is no dictionaries, no pausing. Even if you only understand 20 to 30%, that is completely okay. You just listen 3 times.
Which is really hard for adults to accept.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have to push back on this. Isn't it incredibly frustrating to only understand 20% of what you're hearing on day 1? I mean, won't learners just want to quit out of sheer frustration?
They will want to quit, yes. That frustration is totally normal. It's your logical brain fighting for control because it hates ambiguity.
Right.
But the crucial detail from the source is that on day one, your goal isn't actually comprehension at all.
Wait, really? Then what is it?
Your brain is just getting used to the sounds, the rhythm, and the music of English. When you hear a new language, it just sounds like a continuous, unbroken stream of noise, right?
Oh, yeah, just a wall of sound.
Exactly. Your brain doesn't know where one word ends and the next begins. So on day one, you're forcing your auditory cortex to map the boundaries of those sounds.
So hitting pause to look up a word would actually interrupt that natural mapping process.
Precisely. You're dragging the process back into a math problem.
Okay, so you suffer through the ambiguity on day one. But then by day two, according to the text, a remarkable shift happens.
Day two's active listening.
Right. You listen to the exact same audio, but now you're noticing common high-frequency words.
Right.
Things like I, you, want, have, because, really.
But the source stresses, and this is so important, do not memorize these from a list.
No flashcards.
No flashcards. You need to hear them in real conversations so they become part of your natural vocabulary without translation.
The source gives this really stripped-down example. It's just a simple conversation starting with, hi, how are you? I'm great. How about you?
Right. Incredibly basic.
Yeah, I'm good at work. After work, I'll meet my friend for coffee.
But that simplicity is what allows your brain to do something amazing. By day two, because you mapped the acoustic sounds on day one, your brain will actually start to predict the next sentence before you even hear it.
Oh, wow. So before they even finish saying, after work, I'll meet my friend for, your brain is already expecting coffee.
Exactly. That prediction is the ultimate sign of comprehension improving. You aren't receiving random sounds and translating them retroactively anymore.
The mental secretary is finally taking a break.
She's on vacation. You're anticipating the language naturally.
Okay, so the brain is now predicting patterns and recognizing sounds, which brings us to the natural next step. We have to bridge the gap from merely hearing the language to physically producing it.
Testing those new brain pathways in the real world.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Day 3 introduces shadowing. You listen and repeat immediately.
But again, the focus is not a perfect accent.
Right, the source says accuracy over speed. You're copying the rhythm, the speed, and the pronunciation, but you don't have to sound perfectly native.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the physiology mentioned in the source is key here. Shadowing forces the mouth, the tongue, and the brain to work together.
It's physical conditioning, like going to the gym for your face.
That is exactly what it is. Your articulatory motor cortex is completely dormant when you just read a textbook, but shadowing forces your physical anatomy to execute the auditory map you build over the first 2 days.
The source gives a great specific example of this. You start by repeating a sentence like, I love learning English because it helps me communicate. And then you move on to a whole paragraph, like Emma's daily routine.
Right, waking up at 7, making coffee, taking the bus.
You just follow her whole day, shadowing the audio. And building that physical muscle memory sets you up for day 4, which is when we remove the training wheels.
Day 4, no subtitles.
Right, because your brain has heard the vocabulary enough times now. The instruction is to listen without subtitles, then turn them on just to catch missed words, and then turn them off again to build confidence.
Removing those subtitles is really about trusting the ear strength you've built over the last 3 days. When you have subtitles on, your brain relies heavily on your visual cortex.
Because reading is just easier for us adults.
Exactly. It's a crutch. Your brain takes the path of least resistance and basically ignores the auditory input. Turning them off forces the auditory pathways to do the heavy lifting.
And there's a specific instruction from day 4 regarding a train station conversation that I found super fascinating. There's someone asking for directions, right? But the instruction says, imagine you're having the conversation in real life.
Visualization.
Yes. Physically close your eyes and imagine standing there. It just highlights how powerful visualization is for memory.
It really is. It takes the language out of a sterile academic vacuum and drops it into a messy, real-world context. You attach spatial awareness and emotional weight to the vocabulary.
Which means we've completely primed the learner for the final hurdle. We've trained the ears, we've conditioned the mouth, and this all culminates in day 5, where you finally step out of the practice zone.
Day 5 is where the biggest difference is felt.
Yeah, the early audio that was so overwhelming on day 1, it suddenly feels much easier. Now it's time to speak independently.
The training wheels are fully off.
Right. You describe your morning in simple terms. I woke up at 7, I brushed my teeth. But the golden rule here, and the source emphasizes this heavily, communication is always more important than perfection.
Which is such a relief for adult learners. The fear of grammatical errors completely paralyzes people.
It builds that wall of anxiety.
Lowering that wall by prioritizing communication over perfection is essential. You're just trying to convey an idea.
And to practice that, the source uses this park story exercise. You listen to a story about a family picnic at the park. They walk around the lake, eat under a tree.
Simple narrative stuff.
Exactly. You pause the audio, and then you retell it in your own words. Even if you use different vocabulary, you are succeeding.
Because synthesizing the meaning and generating your own language is true comprehension. Parroting exact words is just a parlor trick.
So what does this all mean? The source is really offering a profound redefinition of fluency here.
It absolutely is.
Fluency isn't about speaking fast. It's about understanding clearly, expressing ideas confidently, and communicating naturally.
And that leads into the powerful secret of successful learners mentioned in the text.
Oh, yes. The daily habit. Day 5 isn't the end.
No, it's just the beginning of a lifestyle. Successful learners listen 20 to 30 minutes every single day while driving, cooking, walking the dog.
It's all about that spaced repetition.
Repetition is your superpower because over time, grammar actually becomes easy.
Because you've heard thousands of correct sentences.
Exactly. You don't need a rule book to know what sounds right anymore. You have an intuitive biological feel for it.
The ultimate goal, as the text highlights, is that if you keep listening, repeating, and learning whole sentences instead of single words, you will one day realize you are thinking in English without even trying.
The mental secretary is fired.
Fired.
Yeah.
She's out of there. You are just existing in the language.
It really is a complete paradigm shift.
So to wrap up this deep dive for you listening, mastering the English language, or any language for that matter, it doesn't require endless grammar drills.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. All you really need are your ears, a few minutes a day, and the willingness to embrace repetition. You just have to get in the pool and feel the water.
Let the grammatical structure emerge naturally from the music of the language.
Exactly. But it does leave us with a pretty wild final thought.
Yeah.
I mean, the source notes that by listening repeatedly, we absorb grammar naturally because we internalize what sounds right.
Yes, the brain is an incredible prediction engine.
Right. So if the human brain is such a powerful prediction engine that it can subconsciously map the insanely complex grammatical architecture of a foreign language just through audio repetition.
Just by listening to the music of it.
Yeah. What other complex skills in our lives are we over-intellectualizing with rule books?
Oh, that's a great question.
Think about it. Learning to code, playing a musical instrument, or even, mastering complex social dynamics. Are we spending all our time reading the physics textbooks when we should really just be immersing ourselves in the music of those skills?
We probably are. We love our rule books too much.
Something to think about the next time you set out to learn something new. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.